Hey, how's it going, everyone? That's right, we're back here, we're keeping the positivity going, and we're back to do some nerd mythology. Yup, you could consider this kind of like the season 2 of nerd mythology, because it's a little bit different from the other ones. We got some new people to talk about here, and it's kind of like a new era for nerd mythology. The wrestlers from the past I talked about were, well, ones I kind of grew up with and idolized through that, and then the ones here are kind of newer people that deserve their shine now. So yeah, here we are with kind of a season 2 of it, and yep, it's time for me to talk about 2 new wrestlers that are coming in to Nerd Mythology. And who better to kick it off with? He is a visionary, he is a revolutionary, he is Seth freaking Rollins. Alright, so, to start things off, I usually start with the wrestler's theme. That's been a big thing, is I always talk about their themes. I like their themes a lot. Seth Rollins is a little bit different. I think his theme is alright. I don't like it as much as I like the other ones, but I do like it. But the one thing I do want to note about it is I love how he plays around with it. He gets the whole crowd to sing with him. He does this conductor thing with his fingers, and the whole crowd is like, oh, oh. It's great. I love that stuff. I love when the wrestlers interact with the crowd and that kind of stuff. What's brilliant about Seth Rollins is sometimes he's a good guy, sometimes he's a bad guy, but literally all he has to do is move his finger and the entire crowd is singing his song. The entire crowd is singing for him. He's that much of a star, he gets the entire crowd to sing for him. That's awesome. So, yeah, let's talk about him and why he is a character that really speaks to me. Even if he wasn't a character I really grew up with, he came into the picture later on in the scene, but I really like him, and he's one of my favorite currently working today. So, Seth Rollins' story begins in 2012. At least I'll start it at 2012. He did some stuff in like NXT and that kind of stuff, but we're gonna start it at 2012 when he got to the main stage of it all. So he started off as a part of the Shield, the group The Shield. So if you don't know, the Shield was a wrestling team, a faction of 3 guys: Seth Rollins, Dean Ambrose / Jon Moxley, and Roman Reigns. Which, if you watched my Drew McIntyre video back when I did that, I talked a little bit about Roman Reigns. I'm going to talk about him a little bit more in this one too. But yep, Seth Rollins, Dean Ambrose / Jon Moxley, and Roman Reigns. And the Shield was a big deal. If you're a part of the wrestling fan base today, you know the Shield, and you probably love every member of the Shield, me included. I love every one of them too. It's great. So, how the Shield worked was they were like Stone Cold Steve Austin, but 3 people. They just didn't take shit from anyone. You know, the Authority would be being the Authority, telling people what to do, bossing them around, and the Shield were just the badasses that didn't take it from anyone. They had this cool entrance where they would come in from the audience, they would come in from the crowd. Yeah, they wouldn't even come in from like backstage with an entrance, they would come in from the crowd as if they were like invading the place. They were jumping the place. They weren't even allowed in the building and they broke in, because they're just that cool. So the Shield was a big deal, and they tore it up for pretty much all of 2012 and all of 2013. They were killing it until the day finally came when they broke up. They split up, and it was one of the biggest moments in recent wrestling history. So what happened? Well, typical wrestling stuff. Of course, one guy turned on the other guys. And the guy that turned on him was the man of the hour, Seth Rollins. So yeah, what happened was the Shield came out, they were in the ring, and they were talking to the Authority, the authoritarian bad guy characters who were at the top of the ramp, like where wrestlers come out, their entrance, they were like standing over there, and the Shield were talking to them. So while they were facing them and talking to them and saying, oh, we ain't taking your shit, we're not gonna do it, we're not gonna listen to you, Authority, Seth Rollins sneaked behind the two other guys' backs, grabbed a steel chair, and bang, whacked both of them, turning on his own partners, his own brothers, turned against them. This was a big deal, it was a big plot twist, shocker, oh my god, he's with the bad guys now, kind of thing, big deal, big moment. And weirdly enough, even though this was supposed to be a moment where, you know, one guy backstabs his own people and shows that he's truly the bad guy of the story, a lot of people cheered. A lot of people cheered for this moment, and they continue to cheer Seth Rollins on through everything. What's interesting about his character with Rollins is he was kind of right in everything. When he stabbed his brothers in the back, he justified it. The next week, when he got a mic and he explained his actions, it was interesting to hear, because of course the story you're thinking is, oh, he's a big sellout, he just did what the Authority guys asked him to do and whatnot, and yeah, that is somewhat true. But Seth Rollins, he justified it in a way that made it actually kind of right. He was kind of in the right in what he was doing. And he basically explained, well, he's been a part of the Shield, and the Shield's been a big deal and all that, but the thing is, the Shield's the big deal. Not Seth Rollins, just the Shield. And even then, is it really the Shield that's the big deal? Or is it just Roman Reigns that's the big deal? Seth Rollins feels like he was in the shadow of Roman Reigns, and thus he had to break out of it. Even if that meant turning on his own people, even if that meant sinking to low levels, he had to do it. If he wanted the spotlight, he was going to take it for himself. He wasn't going to let things hold him back. He was going to do what is necessary. And this is a thing that Rollins kind of continues to this day. He really goes back and forth. He's one of those characters that really flips back and forth from good guy, bad guy, flip-flop a lot. And the thing is, it just makes sense for his character. He does what's necessary. Even if it means kind of being a questionable guy, cheating, stabbing people in the back, doing this, that, and the other, it doesn't matter for him. He knows what he wants, and he's not going to let anything stop him from getting it. This is a fun character for him to have because, well, it's basically the embodiment of ambition. He isn't the biggest guy. Like I said, in the Shield, Roman Reigns was the big guy, and he got a lot of the attention. Roman Reigns got all the title opportunities, he got the spotlight a lot, and he was seen as like the leader of the Shield. He was the guy, he was the main guy out of it all, and Seth Rollins was just like his sidekick, the guy in the background. And thus, Seth Rollins said, no, I'm not gonna take that, I'm gonna take the spotlight for myself. And he ultimately did. A lot of things worked against Rollins, but he always made it to the spotlight, whether people wanted him to or not. He was gonna take that spotlight, and no one was gonna stop him. The story continued, and the big climax of it was Roman Reigns, in 2015, he was in the main event of WrestleMania, the biggest show in WWE history. So, he was in the main event, taking on the world champion at the time, Brock Lesnar. This was a big deal. It was Roman Reigns' chance to become a world champion. It was his chance to beat Brock Lesnar, who I think I talked about in other ones in WWE lore at the time. Brock Lesnar was the biggest wrestler of all time. He was the hardest to ever defeat. He was the best wrestler ever in lore. That's basically what it was. So this was Roman's chance to essentially dethrone him, and he could become the best wrestler of all time at this moment. So this main event, it was a hard match. The two men, Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar, just beat each other up, beat each other black and blue. And by the end of it, they were just like crumbling on the floor. It was a big deal. They were all beat up. And then what happened? The music hit and Seth Rollins ran out to steal the show. So, in WWE, there's this thing they have, this rule they have called Money in the Bank. Which is basically, there's a briefcase you can win, and once you have this briefcase, at any point in time, you can cash it in, and you automatically get a world title shot. You automatically get a championship match right then and there. So what most people do is, of course, they wait until the champion's like all beat up and unwell, and then that's when they run out and cash it in and basically steal the championship from them. So that's exactly what Seth Rollins did here. He waited till this match was going on, everyone was all beat up and barely moving, and then he ran out, cashed in Money in the Bank, and stole the opportunity. Not only did he walk away with the World Championship, but he stopped Roman Reigns from getting his big moment. He stole Roman's big moment from him. And this was a big deal. Like I said, Seth Rollins felt like he was in the shadow of Roman Reigns. He felt like he was in his shadow for all this time. So for him to overcome the obstacles and ultimately take the spotlight from him, he beat him and walked away with the world title. That's awesome. That's pretty cool. And what a great story to hear. I mean, this guy had everything working against him, and no matter what was happening, he ultimately played smart enough, played the right moves, and came out on top no matter what anyone thought about it. He went on to kind of have a feud with Roman Reigns, which is even somewhat still going to this day, that the two guys don't really like each other and they might have another match, we don't know. So far they've had 3 one-on-one matches. The cash-in was one of them. Seth Rollins beat Roman Reigns. The second time it was just a normal one-on-one match, Seth Rollins, Roman Reigns. Seth Rollins won. And then the third time, Seth Rollins, Roman Reigns, and Seth Rollins played some mind games with him and got Roman Reigns to disqualify himself. So that one wasn't as cool. But, hey, I mean, Seth Rollins has beat Roman Reigns 3 times. He is undefeated. Every time he has gone one-on-one with Roman, he has defeated him every time. Because he's just one step ahead every time. That's really his character. He's smart. He plays the right moves. He's not the biggest guy, he's not the strongest guy, but he's the smartest guy. And he knows what he needs to do to stay on top always. That's what's so cool about his character. Now I'm going to bring up something that I've actually never brought up in any of the other videos. Finishing moves. Yeah, I like all the other finishing moves from all the other people. They're pretty cool, but none of them really have the sting that Seth Rollins' finishing move has. Which is why this is the first time I'm bringing it up. Seth Rollins might have one of the coolest finishers in wrestling history. His finisher, the curb stomp, he literally just stomps a guy's head into the ground. It's awesome. It's very simple, but it's effective. It gets the job done, it sends the message, and it's so cool. And it works so well with his character. Like I said, he's all about ambition. He's all about overcoming the obstacles. So, for him in his final move to stomp your face into the ground to defeat you just adds insult to it all, and it's great. It's so cool to see. Roman Reigns is always out there stealing his spotlight, so to see Seth Rollins stomp his face into the ground before taking the spotlight for himself, yeah. Awesome stuff, awesome stuff. So yeah, that's pretty much what I have to say about him. And if you guys still aren't convinced that he's a cool character, he recently at WrestleMania beat Logan Paul. Yeah, he took on Logan Paul at WrestleMania and he beat him. And yes, he stomped his face into the ground to beat him. So yeah, if you guys don't think he's a cool character now, oh, you surely do now. Yeah. He's a real cool character. He really just embodies ambition, and thus everyone cheers for him. Despite him being a villain often, he goes back and forth between good guy, bad guy. But no matter which way he is, people cheer for him because he's just about ambition. He'll overcome any obstacle, and not only will he overcome it, but he'll stomp your face into the ground to prove that he overcame the obstacle. He won't just overcome the obstacle, he'll stomp it into the ground. That is a cool character. Well, thanks for watching, everybody. I hope you enjoyed that I'm bringing back this series. I'm definitely happy to do it. And I was a little worried, my last video about being positive and whatnot, I was worried about what the effects that would have on my channel and all that, but I got a lot of positive feedback, and the last video got a lot of views for some reason. Thank you guys so much for all the support. I'm so glad to be doing this. I'm glad to be back to positive stuff, and I'm really happy with what we're doing. So yeah, thanks for watching, everyone. Next time, we'll talk about the American Nightmare himself, Cody Rhodes. Stay tuned for that one. Thanks for watching. Make McChickens, not war. See you around.